Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam Heath Avitable.
This is Dating Kinda Sucks, a podcast about dating, sex, and relationships. This week, we'll be talking about red flags in the bedroom. Enjoy the show.
Hey, YouTube, thanks so much for watching. If you are enjoying these videos, please make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us today after being all over. I don't know. Why do you look at me like that?
Just because nobody's going to hear the YouTube part.
I know you're
audio.
right. Cut this out. We're cutting this out. Start over this shit. Go ahead. Intro us then.
I like you said red flags in the bedroom with kind of like a little bit of section, like
spiciness,
a little sensuality. They're like red flags in the bedroom.
Sorry, I've been on so many webinars where everyone's just been very monotone, so I had to spice it up. Red flags in the bedroom.
Do you ever just want to go onto a radio voice when you're doing like webinars and just like all of a sudden like put on your?
I don't get to present. If I did,
okay.
I would be more animated. But I sat on one today where it was just da 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 da, and it looked like she was reading off the screen, and I was like, my God, please help me.
I am not looking forward to any type of webinars. Like I have avoided that my entire life. Maybe starting some work soon where I work for someone else, which will be the first time in literal years.
Let's
say a decade that I've worked for somebody else. And I don't know about this, the whole corporate environment. I guess we'll see what it's like.
Don't fit the mold, but you'll make it work.
I'll make it work, but I'm not one for webinars. It's funny because you were talking about like your company doing a like a Fitbit challenge.
We do a stepping challenge
or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really, okay, great, but you're like, yeah, we got to get in there. Our team has to beat the other team. And I'm sitting there thinking, I am not that type of person. I am not a participator in those types of events.
Let me be real. I'm typically not that person either. The problem is I'm new to the company. And on top of that, they needed an extra person. And I was like, you know what? Be a team player, start, because my one job that I was at for over 3 years, after year one, I was like, fuck this shit. I'm not doing this anymore. But I feel like because I'm still in my first year, I'm like, and I actually kind of want to do it at the same time. But I don't know what
that's
the prizes
because you think
are.
there might be a cash prize. That's why, because you got money motivated, dollar signs in your eyes, basically.
Yes.
So what's been going on in your life?
2 weeks until Roy and I move.
2 weeks. Yeah, we're recording this what's October 18th, I think. Tuesday, October 18th. And so wow, that's crazy.
It's wild to think that this chapter is over. I've had some moments of being sad about it and feeling like I let myself down because Nashville didn't work out. And then I've also thought, fuck this shit, get out now. But I think
you've lived there for how many years?
5. It'll be 5 in December.
If I would have stayed in working December. Out, that's like living in a place for 5 years. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but I feel like maybe the pandemic brought it on, but I feel like I lost a lot of the friends that I had during the pandemic because I switched jobs. I didn't see anyone because everyone was remote because of the pandemic, and just feeling a lot less connected to the community I once really liked to hang out with, if that makes sense. And then on top of that, maybe I just isolated myself because I just hang out with Roy all the time, but really I just want to hang out with him because
right.
I've done the whole song and dance of meeting up with all these people and basically going on friend dates all the time, and just like dating, it's fucking exhausting. And I'm like, look, I have a person I like hanging out with, and I like hanging out by myself. I think I'm good. So I'm gonna have to kind of dust off the cobwebs of networking and making friends once I move to my new location. But
when are we going to announce this for the
once
podcast?
I'm there. Once I'm there.
Okay.
So November.
Next episode, basically, probably.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe once I'm
Well,
there.
that'll be in 2 weeks. I mean, it'll be less and more than 2 weeks from now because this episode will come out
But
on
we're recording
Friday.
before, so
Well,
I'll
right. So
wait.
maybe we'll have an announcement, and then
No.
or we
Once
can do.
I'm physically
Oh, you're
there.
physically there.
Once I'm physically
Or what
there.
we could do is we could do like a Sarah and Roy are moving to, and then just leave it blank, and then later on come in when you're there and just stick the voice in, moving to, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Florida. No.
oh God,
It's not Florida.
I'll tell you, I do miss Florida sometimes. Like
Same. Me too.
it's actually more when I see friends like going out and doing things around Orlando, and I'm like, I miss some of those things. Like not all of those things, and I don't miss a lot of the weather and the humidity, but I do miss some of those things sometimes.
Yeah. I think and that's what I think I'm gonna feel when I leave here too, is I'm gonna miss a couple of elements of Nashville, just like I miss a couple things about Orlando, but onward and upward, I guess. And it's a
Right.
weird feeling because I don't have family here and I really don't have a core group of friends here either. I have a couple of friends, but me leaving here is really peace out. I'm not fucking coming back.
Right, right.
It really feels like I'm never coming back here versus Orlando where I have family and a bigger group of friends to come back to if I wanted, I
The only
guess.
reason I could see you coming back would be with Roy's family for like events, for Roy's family living there. So
Yeah, I guess.
maybe
But
as
yeah.
long as you don't murder him.
Oh, great. Yeah, we think I'm gonna do that. Okay. Well, so anyways,
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, you had the potential. But
what
to
are you trying to talk about a fight that we had? Is that where you're pulling on right now?
yeah,
Dude, it's been so long in my mind. I don't even remember what the fight was about, but I know what you're trying to get to. I'm totally blacked out on what I was mad about.
really,
I don't remember.
the moving vans and the moving trucks and all of that.
Oh no, yeah, he pissed me off
There
with
was
that.
murder on your voice when you were telling me about it.
But now it's all solved, so it's a non-issue. But yeah, we were disagreeing on how we were going to move to our new place because we're moving pretty far away, and he got cold feet on the options that I had researched and had multiple. I don't know, going through the moving process and hiring movers, you have to get on virtual calls and they need to like assess your stuff and see, give an estimate and then not to exceed. I know so much about this shit now because I've done 4 or 5 virtual tours with
Right,
companies
right.
and then vetted them and gotten quotes of astronomical fees versus something more reasonable. And then after I did all of that work, he said, I might just take a U-Haul and just drive our stuff just instead. And I guess I did lose my shit because I was like, look, I spent
Yes.
all this fucking time. I thought we were on the same page. We're not doing this. And it was funny because we were on a family game night with his family talking about it, and his mom had just assumed that we were taking a U-Haul and driving it across the country. And his sister was like, oh, I would never do that. I would hire movers. And I was like, exactly. That's what we're going to do. So I was like, yeah, we're picking these movers. I'm not lifting a fucking finger except for putting stuff in boxes and we'll be done. And then his mom's like, well, I think Sarah's decided for you, Roy. So have fun with that.
Yeah, I think this could just be a good lesson to any partners out there who are thinking about moving, moving like from one town to another. That if you tell your partner, yeah, okay, whatever you want is fine, and then they put all the effort into doing research and figuring things out and say, okay, this is what we're going to do, that is not the time to be like, oh, I don't know if I trust what you're doing. I'm going to go ahead and try to do my own thing. Like that's not the time to the time to do that, to like do your own research is at the same time they're doing
Right.
research so that you can be
Yeah.
well informed and you can come into it. And yeah,
Well, I'm
um,
just the one always taking charge on a lot of the stuff too, because I don't mind it.
everything.
Not everything,
I mean,
but
it's just because religious is like usually goes along with the flow in every capacity. So I think that's why it's so frustrating for you when the few times where he's like, "Oh, I don't know about this," and you're like, "Why now? Why is this the thing you're caring about?"
that's true. I mean, he picked the place that we're moving to. There's things where he cares more about this. I just want the location. So I'm like, you pick your shit and then I pick this shit and then we're good and we don't have any conflicts. But I mean, I basically told him, I said, if you don't pick the mover option, then I'll move my own shit and you can figure out your shit. And I think
Right.
that was his moment of, oh, she's not fucking around.
Yeah.
Because I was really mad then. But
Cool.
that feels
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
3 weeks ago. I know it was probably 2 weeks ago at this point, but it was in my mind a long time ago because now I'm just looking ahead. So
Right. Right. Head full steam ahead. But I remember my father did that to my mother about something that was kind of like that. Like my mother had made all these decisions, got everything ready, and then my dad was like, you know. And she
What
just like
about?
she lost her shit. She was just like, "What are you? No, this is not happening. You had your opportunity to speak up, and this is like it's like a voting period. They do like a city council's like we're going to put in a fountain, and they go through all the stuff, and they have all this period for people to come up and say something, and then they finally start working towards it. Then people are like, oh, we don't like this. Well, tough shit. You had your time to
You
say
had your
something.
moment.
You
That's
had your
closed now.
that's right. That moment is closed. We're past the voting period. Now we're actually executing the plan.
Yeah, I think it was seeing the quotes, and then he was thinking, could we save money going the original option? And I told him that was never an original option in my mind. We were never doing that. Plus, he's
Right.
he's about to turn 35. He's never hired movers in his life.
Yeah.
And as a woman, a single woman who's moved multiple times, I'm not
Mhm.
lifting things by myself. There's no fucking way I can. I have always hired movers. So I just assumed, my bad. I just assumed this was the route we were going because movers and we are older and we have money and we don't have friends and paying them with pizza. I'm out of that stage of my life.
Right. You both have good paying jobs, and that's what the money is for paying for things like this. But what is it? That was that old meme that was like when you reach 30, like it's like once you hit 30, you stop inviting your friends to help you move for pizza and beer and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
you stay in a hotel when you go to a town, you don't crash on someone's couch. Like it's one of those things you just generally do if you can afford it. Obviously
It's
not
also
everybody
more
can, but yes.
comfortable if you can't afford
Oh
it.
yeah. I can't imagine the idea of you like if you and he and Ad had actually gone together in a U-Haul across country. I really do think there would have been a murder.
Let me just emphasize this. I'm not even driving across country. I'm hopping on a fucking plane and getting there,
Yep.
and cuz I'm shipping my car. He's driving his car to save the $2,000 of shipping a car, fine, whatever, and then putting some more valuables in his car, fine. But I was like, "Do you want me to go with you?" And he said, "It might be good for the 3 or 4 days I'm on the road that you just get there before me and we'll just have that time to ourselves." Because he was like, you might, he was assuming we'll probably just annoy the shit out of each other for the 4 days, 3 or 4 days we're driving across the country.
Yeah, that can be because it can be so stressful. It really can be just driving a U-Haul. I remember driving with Amy with a giant U-Haul and a full car trailer all the way across country, and it was just white knuckling it up and down mountains and on curvy roads and through Los Angeles traffic. For
Then
me,
add
it was
terrible
Los
weather.
Angeles. Yeah, yeah, I know you're going
Nope.
in the middle of November. Who knows what you're
There
going to
could be
find? Yeah,
snow. No fucking thank you. That was my whole thing of you're really going to do that. Anyways, it's a non-issue now.
yeah,
But
yes. But let it
this
be a
move,
lesson for people listening, maybe that that
yeah,
moving
and
is
this
one of those
this
things.
has not been easy, but it's done, and the moving in part to the new location will be the new hurdle of figuring out who gets what room, and because we
Well,
don't
that's the
sleep
nice
in
thing
the
about
same
you
room.
flying is that you get to choose.
See, I don't want to
You get
be
to call
that.
dibs. Nope.
Well, here's the other thing. We haven't fucking been to the house that we're renting. So we have no idea. Like we did a virtual tour with the realtor and blah blah blah, but it's going to be different when I'm there standing going, "Yeah, I think I like this one more." And yeah, I will be there
Right.
first to kind of
You get dibs. That's how that works.
okay.
He just as easily could have flown with you, but he chose not to, so you get dibs. I think everybody would agree with me that you get dibs on the room. You can find a room that and he gets dibs to install his weights wherever he wants.
Well, so if I get one room, I also get a second room for an office. So it's like there's an upstairs and a downstairs. So if I pick one floor, I get that whole floor and he gets the other. I don't know.
That's pretty
Pros and
cool.
cons. Yeah, pros and cons, but
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, definitely dibs. I think you get dibs. I think we're gonna agree with that. Maybe we'll do a poll later to see
who gets
what
dibs?
all the listeners say who gets dibs. Whoever's there first gets dibs.
Yeah.
Um,
Anywho, what about your life?
so I put you on the spot to talk about this because I don't have anything in my life going on. Basically,
Oh,
that's what it
okay.
was. Yeah, I was like, let's get Sarah to talk about
Definitely on the
things.
spot. I
Yeah, I
didn't even
know.
think had a
I
fight recently.
I didn't think about it until we started recording, and I was like, oh wait, what about it? It's like, ooh, there was
Because
something.
I'd take a walk and bitch to you on the phone of what the fuck? But it was
Yeah.
like for 2 days and then it was over.
Yes. Yeah, because it would have been over one way or the other. I think. Uh, you'd be like, Adam, how do I dispose of a body? Is really, and I'd have been like, all right,
I am not like that.
go to
Okay,
Home Depot,
chill.
get some plastic, drop cloth, lye, a shovel. There you go. So nothing's really going on in my life. I've got a potential date coming up towards the end of the week. It's a date, however, it's not. We met on Facebook dating. She told me after we scheduled it that she's already talking to somebody that like and wants to see where it goes, but she's like intrigued to meet and would be like, "Oh, I'll be one of your friends
As
in
a friend.
Utah." Yeah, and I was
Mhm.
like, "That's cool." So we've been getting along by text, and that's fine. And I've had some other people that I've been talking to. I just haven't scheduled anything because you know me. Like
Is the Facebook dating scene dead? I haven't heard a lot of people talk about Facebook dating versus the other apps.
I actually like some elements of it. Now I can't do it on my main account. It will not let me on my main account. I don't know if it's because I have
You've been blocked so many times, or
5,000 friends on there, or maybe because I've gotten, I've gotten put in Facebook jail, but for some reason I can't. But on my alt account, which only has like 300 friends on there, it allows me to do it. So I really don't know, but I have to remember to log into that account and then check it, and I'll get matches with people sometimes. So, um,
okay.
yeah, it's okay, but like I've met people that I don't see on other apps, so that's interesting. One funny thing is that I have now my parents live in a little condo complex. It's like a little courtyard that has 6 condos that are all like townhome condos all next to each other. They're all like a part of one building, but like my parents like it's a huge place. It's like this 2-story 3-bedroom, 3-bath place, but like somehow they're all joined in this giant building. But anyways, in the courtyard, there's this one woman, and I have run across her on dating apps now on 3 different dating apps. Yeah, and she's never acknowledged it.
So you've come across her. Have you swiped right
Every
on
time.
her? Did you match?
No, that's what I'm saying. And she's never acknowledged it. I've seen her in the courtyard and waved and
Yo, you
everything.
should say
I
something
know,
to
I know,
her.
I know.
You
Like,
need to be like, I think I've seen you before. Where have I seen you besides this courtyard? And then just
well, when
be
my dad was doing a
awkward.
garage sale, she came over and introduced herself, and then we talked for a minute. And then, yeah, she had. But every time I've seen her recently, she's had her daughter with her, who's probably in the early, not like adolescent age, and so I don't want to talk about it in front of her because I'm sure it'll just create sometime like her daughter will be like, "What's that? What's a dating app or whatever?" So I do need to because the first time I ran across her was on Hinge, I think, and I matched and I said, "Oh, look who it is," and I was like, "She has to recognize." Like, how
She
can she not
saw that
recognize?
message. Yeah.
But look who it is. Oh, look, just an acknowledgement that I already know you, and no match. And then Bumble
Damn.
and Tinder. I've seen her on those as well.
Wait,
Yeah.
okay. So after you said, look who it is, did you run into her at the courtyard and say hi and she said hi back?
It was a little while later, but yeah, I've seen her a few times and she
Okay.
waves and yeah, I just I don't know. I mean, it could also be that she's not really on the apps aggressively and she hasn't come across me yet in that way.
Maybe, but I
Maybe.
feel like after a few weeks pass, then
Yeah, I don't
that's
know.
odd. You need to say something of, hey,
Well,
I
so what I do is
saw
I told
you,
my
not we met.
dad that I ran across her, and my dad. I'm sure my dad will just say something because my dad has no chill and is completely. I'm sure he'd be like, "Hey, Alex, you should go out with my son sometime." Like that's basically what he's gonna say.
Yes, I
You know,
expect that.
yeah.
Hmm.
So we'll see what happens, but that's kind of funny. But yeah, so I'll be going down to Provo Thursday and at least meeting up with somebody. So maybe I'll make a new friend. The problem, of course, being the same problem that everything is so fucking far away from this town. Ridiculous.
Counting down the months.
And it's it is beautiful here. I mean, it's nice, but goddamn, yeah. Yesterday after dinner, I drove around and saw a family of 14 deer, all just on the side of the road, just eating, and that was cool looking, really cool. Took some cool pictures of them, with the mountains behind them and the sun setting, and it was gorgeous. And I can't go out drinking with a fucking deer though. So,
Well, speaking of making friends and new members, we have a new member on our Patreon, and you can become one too by going to the link patreon.com/DKS podcast. We like to welcome Laura White as our newest member. And like we mention all the time, we do exclusive episodes and special content on our page.
Yes, we've been sticking with those. We've had a few bonus episodes up. We had one up from the last episode. We'll have one up after this episode as well. So yes, thank you, Laura. I'd also like to give a shout out to some of our countries where we've shown up on the podcast charts. And so Dating Kind of Sucks has popped up in South Africa, Slovenia, Barbados, and Belgium. So I want to say thank you to all of you. Barbados is funny because like I feel
We
like
keep having that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there's not a large population in Barbados, so I have to wonder if it's just one person who's just binging like certain episodes, and that's enough to put us up in the charts. Because it
Hey,
isn't
keep
small
it
enough.
going.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, but yeah. So thank you very much to all of our international listeners. I appreciate you very much. And let's get into the email that we have. So you want to cue it up, or you want me to
Which
cue it up?
which you can email us at our address, which is datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. I used to do a really good job checking this inbox, but since traveling, that's been Adam. So thank you, Adam, for
Yeah, absolutely. One of us has to actually do the work here, so I'm happy to
always
come
the
in
diss
and
on my end. Yep.
no, you've been busy. You've been busy enough. It's all right. I not I like I it's funny, I check her inbox and I'll be like, oh no, not gonna even bother reading half the emails we get anyways.
We'll read yours if it's exciting, like this one we're about to read
Yes,
now.
but we get it. A lot of our stuff is just random stuff, but like people who have send in questions, we will handle those. You can send those in, like I said, through email. You can also people DM us on Instagram too with questions that we also reply to. So this question was from a listener who wanted to remain anonymous, and I'm going to go ahead and read her email. Let's see here. Let me get this up. I'm in a tough dating situation and would love some advice. I had been seeing a guy for about 2 months, met on Hinge, and hit it off well. I was enjoying taking it slow for once and truly getting to know each other before diving all in and committing. Then he disappeared one day. I'm not a stranger to ghosting, but thought 2 months in didn't warrant that type of behavior. I told him so via text after not hearing from him for 4 days. We had also passed a day that we were discussing meeting up and then let it go. A couple more days passed and he called. He was drunk and told me he was an alcoholic and fell off the wagon for the first time in 9 years and was ashamed and afraid to tell me. There had been a triggering event. I had known he was sober, but we hadn't yet gotten into the details. I continued to talk to him for the next several days as he got back on the wagon. During our chats, he told me everything there was to know, his whole history with his issue and his plan to get back to his normal sober life. True to his plan, he did get sober again and has been for a week now. I believe that he is a good guy and may be great for me. I also appreciate knowing and seeing the worst in someone fairly early on. I don't want to judge him or discard him immediately just because he relapsed. I'm also not ignorant that he has a serious chronic disease that he will be dealing with for the rest of his life. Everyone deserves loving relationships, so I hate to write someone off just because they went through a low moment. Do I run like hell or continue to move slowly and see how it plays out while dating others still?
I wouldn't run like hell just yet. That's a very difficult situation to be in, and alcoholism is incredibly challenging. I think after your talk with him, to assess, maybe have another talk and say, what's your level of importance of your recovery? Because adding a relationship or continuing this dating that we have going on right now could be triggering in some degree. We don't know the triggering event, but his sobriety is obviously the most important thing, and making sure that he's focused with that and letting him do his thing while you do your thing isn't a bad thing. But I think you need to come together and say, hey, I like you, but make sure you're putting yourself a priority first, not just dating me and then creating more chaos.
No, I agree. And I think that, you're not a bad person if you want to remain detached from somebody who has an issue like this. And that it doesn't make you bad just because you don't want to support somebody else as they go through something. It's one thing if you've committed to a relationship or a marriage with somebody and then they develop an issue and you're like, oh, I'm not going to help you with this. That's a whole totally different issue. You guys are strangers essentially. So you're not, you are not responsible for what he's going through. And maybe while he's trying to get back on the wagon and get his life back in order, he shouldn't even be dating anybody at all. Like he should really be focusing on himself and only himself. So I would say don't feel bad if you decide to walk away, but if you do decide to stay with them, just keep your eyes out and stay sharp and look for red flags. Other than this, or in addition to this, like things that are tied to this, and like Sarah said, make sure to keep yourself the priority. Like, don't try to fix them.
Mhm.
Don't try to, let his, what he has to go through somehow make you maybe susceptible to whatever problems might come as a result of it. Focus on yourself first and then worry about him and his feelings second.
Agreed. Yeah. Put yourself first. But
So excellent
yeah.
question. Yeah. And it's a very, not an easy question, not an easy place to be, but hopefully it works out. And please let us know if you're listening to this, what's been happening, because I know it's been a few weeks since you emailed us, so this is probably something that you've been dealing with. So let us know what's been going on. And yeah, and if other people have questions, you can always, like Sarah said, email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. And with that, we'll take a quick break and be right back with What to See with Sarah G.
Well, as Sarah said before we went to break, we are back with What to See with Sarah G. And this week she is going to explore Little Rock, Arkansas. So take it away.
Yeah, I like to mix it up and do something international and then something in the United States. And Arkansas in general might be a place not a lot of people consider. I know both you and I, we did an episode while we were in Little Rock together, last summer? So we both
Oh,
spent a
that's
little
right.
bit
We
of
did.
time here. Yeah, where
Drunk.
you criticized my pillow shoes and we had a good time. But yeah, you drunk. Yeah. But so let's get into Little Rock, Arkansas. Named for the landmark La Petite Roche, which is French for Little Rock. Little Rock, Arkansas is a vibrant city filled with history, scenic views, and friendly people. There are, like I mentioned, I spent a long time here, 6 weeks. So there are a lot of other day trips you can take from Little Rock that I'll also kind of mention. You can go to Bentonville, you can go to Hot Springs, which Adam and I also went to when you were hungover, but I highly recommend visiting the natural state. And just to sell visiting Arkansas a little bit more, if you like hiking, biking, history, or the outdoors in general, there's a little bit for everyone. And it is relatively inexpensive compared to some other states if you're planning on traveling. So you can keep that in mind. Let's talk about places to visit. I would start off with visiting Pinnacle Mountain State Park. It's about a 20-minute drive from downtown, and you'll get to Pinnacle Mountain. This state is filled with various hiking and biking trails at all skill levels. There's two main trails. There's a hard one and an easy one, but I say that in like air quotes because they're all pretty challenging. And you could do the hard trail is the east, the easy trail is the west. Just bring extra water and an energy bar. I stupidly did the east one thinking that I would be fine. I had enough water and stuff, but you're literally scaling rocks on the east side versus the west side is more of a paved trail. So do the west. But once you get to the top, I know you're shaking your head at me, Adam, but once you get to the top, there are really beautiful views of all of the waterways throughout the area. I don't really know what the waterways are called. I should have looked that up, but it's really pretty. And you could spend an entire day just hiking around that area and checking it out. Another area that I feel like is a little bit touristy, but still worth a visit is to the Old Mill. It's about 10 minutes from downtown. And fun fact, it was shown during the opening credits of Gone with the Wind. So that like mill that you see, that's that in Little Rock. It's pretty
Have you
what?
seen Gone with the Wind?
I've only seen the first minute of Gone with the Wind, so I could say, "Oh, I saw that."
You saw the mill. Okay, I had to ask.
It's like the first 30 seconds or something.
I've never seen it, so I didn't know that.
You think I saw it? No fucking way.
Right.
But it's cool, I guess. But it's in this really cute park filled with bridges and greenery, and there were a lot of people taking high school photos and photographers there, so keep that in mind. But it is really nice to just walk around and see. Next is Junction Bridge, which is behind the River Market. There's like a park downtown, so you can walk through the park and get to the bridge. You can walk right across the bridge, check out the Arkansas River, and then you're right downtown in downtown Little Rock. For history buffs, there is Little Rock Central High School, if you've ever heard of the Little Rock Nine. In 1957, after Brown v. Board of Education in 1954, 9 Black students were selected to attend Little Rock High School in an all-white school at the time. This is actually still an operating high school, and it's also the only school that is a National Historic Site. So you can park at the visitor center, learn more, and take a tour of the high school when it's not in operating hours. It was closed during COVID when I was there, but pretty cool. There's also, because the Clintons were from Arkansas, so there's the William J. Clinton Library and Museum. I didn't get a chance to go inside of it, but it's a really cool building. And then there's also the Big Dam Bridge if you're looking for nice views and a walk across the river as well. So those are some scenic things to do, but let's talk about food because I ate out a lot when I was in Little Rock, and especially at this place that I took Adam to. And I don't know if he really, oh, he's rolling his eyes. So he didn't really like it, which I already knew. The Root Cafe by far was my favorite restaurant in Little Rock. I ate here about 10 times during my 6-week stay. And you know what? I just really loved the community environment that the Root has fostered. They source their food from small farmers across the state of Arkansas and really have a good variety of vegan, gluten-free, and vegetarian options, all things that Adam hates. They did not have bacon.
was that the place we went when we met up with
Yes.
the friend from TikTok too, right?
Mhm,
And
yeah.
for like brunchish, right? Wasn't that what
Yeah.
it was?
Mhm.
Yeah, that place. Yeah, okay. What?
I
It just
hate that you hate that, but okay, that's
well,
fine.
it's just like what it is it's just the environment of walking into a place and like I don't know, everything about it was just annoying. The chairs were uncomfortable. It's all
Oh my
outdoors. It was
God.
hot as hell. It was just I don't know. I like cold places with
It was all
nice,
outside.
yeah, nice, comfy seats and a server who comes up to you. Like I hate this order at the
You order at the counter and then they
have to
bring
go,
you your
yeah,
food.
yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, of
Anyways,
everything
you
I
liked
tried,
it, and I know you loved it. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't just like it.
Yeah, you
I
loved it.
loved this place and highly recommend visiting. I ordered a lot of different things on the menu, but I kept going back to the spicy banh mi and a honey ginger lemonade. It was a perfect.
The lemonade was delicious. I will say that. I did
Okay,
like,
good.
but they didn't give you fucking straws, and that was another thing that drive me crazy. Like, how hard
They're
is
an
it to give you straws?
environmentally conscious.
Fuck environmentally okay. Anyways,
Okay.
okay.
Let me continue. Next time I'm not picking a place Adam's been to. No, I'm kidding. Next is Community Bakery. It's right down the street from the Root Cafe. It's just one of those local restaurants that really made me feel at home. Their menu isn't that fancy. They have, a nice display of all their desserts and everything at the cafe, but reasonable prices and pretty good sandwiches. There are a couple taco places, another taco place I took Adam, but I'll start with the first one that you didn't go to, which is Heights Taco and Tamale Co. If you come here, you have to get the skillet queso, probably one of the best quesos I've had in the US, which that's a big claim, but it was actually really like I still think about that queso. It's a little on the pricier side of some of the other restaurants in Little Rock, but it's on the hip side of town, so it's just like okay, I kind of assumed. It's worth the splurge. I also really like their crispy ahi tuna tacos and their grilled chicken tacos. And then Adam and I went to The Fold, which again, another hip restaurant, but I actually think Adam liked this place.
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. This spot was originally an auto repair shop that turned into a taco garage in 2012. And it's a good place to just grab a cocktail and try a taco or a burrito. So yeah, that one gets a thumbs up from Adam, which is the most important thing about this entire. Adam liked it.
If we both like it, then that it's got to be pretty decent. Because
and if I like it,
but if we both like it, then if just you or just me, then like some people are not going to like it. But if we both do, I feel like that's a really rousing endorsement.
So The Fold,
Fold,
The Fold, yeah. Of course, you can get catfish. There's a couple of catfish places in Little Rock that are worth checking out downtown. Their downtown scene is pretty lively at night, not as lively as like a Nashville where I live now, but it's a cool place to be. If you're looking for day trips outside of Little Rock, there are two options. You could do Hot Springs, which is known for their naturally heated thermal springs and mountain views. You can check out you can like swim in the spring water baths or whatever, get a massage, hang out there. It's also a state park, which is kind of cool. And then they have some Al Capone stuff. Or you can visit Bentonville, which was probably my favorite weekend that I had in Arkansas. It's in Northwest Arkansas. It's the birthplace of Walmart, and they're also really well known for their mountain and biking and all of that stuff, but really cool coffee shops, a nice little downtown square. I really enjoyed Bentonville.
What was the place? So what was the place that we went when I was hungover?
Hot Springs.
We didn't go
We
to
didn't
Springs.
We didn't go to downtown Hot Springs.
We went to like the botanical garden of some type.
yeah, we went to like the Hot Springs Botanical Garden that had this pretty well-known church that was there, and then we walked around that park area.
That
I'm
was, I
blanking
mean,
on the name.
yeah, I can't remember the name either, but yeah, that was very pretty. It was very pretty. I just was so massively hungover, and it was so hot that day that we walked for a bit, and then finally I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go back in the car. You take your time." And I just went in the car, cranked in the air conditioning, and just waited for you to walk around. There
Yeah,
was too much hiking too in that around walking around there.
yeah, if you don't like hiking, you're not going to really enjoy Arkansas. And also, pro tip with the heat, just don't go in August through September. It's hot as fuck.
Yeah, God, it's so
But
humid.
it's still nice. It's still nice. But yeah, and that's what to see in Little Rock, unless Adam has anything to add.
Well, what I would suggest now when I was there, no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, I stayed at the Aloft Hotel in downtown Little Rock, and it was actually really nice and very like trendy and cool. And they had a nice little bar in there and did a great job. So I enjoyed that. And then I was looking for a dive bar to go to on one of the nights that you were staying in, and I went to a place called Grumpy's Two. That is the diviest dive bar. They still allowed smoking in there. Like that's how much of a dive bar it was. But the chicken was fantastic. It was great. And then right around the corner from Aloft in downtown was a gay bar that I went to for a drink after I got back from Grumpy's, and that's when I think I got drugged
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do remember that.
because I only had two drinks, and then like I don't remember walking from the bar, and
And
it
you
was only
passed out on the bench?
yeah, I sat on the bench outside my hotel for some reason, decided to sit down and like woke up like 5 minutes later and got up, and I was sitting next to a homeless guy, and he's like, "Hey man, you forgot your phone." So I will say they're very friendly people there because I left my phone just sitting and like, he could have just ran off with it, I guess, but he didn't. He just, told me.
Yeah.
And then that's why I was so miserably hungover, I think, was because whatever
The
some
next day, that's when we went
that
to
was the
Hot
next day when
Springs.
we had to go to
Yeah.
the hot springs. But yeah, that was pretty awful. And then I found all those weird photos that I took on my walk from the bar to the bench, like just random photos, like selfies, weird, like just photos of like signposts and stuff. Like I don't know what the fuck was it. Like it was so fucking weird.
That's
So
wild. I don't
yeah,
remember you telling me that. But
yeah. It's
so
great.
watch out if you go to Grumpy's, I guess.
No, I don't think it was Grumpy. I think it was the gay bar that I went to, which I don't remember the name of, but it was around the corner from Aloft. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
that's where it happened. But I still had a great time. I did enjoy Little Rock. I would totally go back there. And thank you for sharing all of your thoughts as well.
Yeah, such a hidden gem. I
Yeah,
like I liked Arkansas.
I
I
was
really did.
surprised at how much I liked it. Like I really didn't
Yeah.
expect to like it that much. There's been a few towns as I've traveled that I'm like, oh, I expected this to be just an armpit,
Yep.
what's it called? Clarksville, Tennessee. That's an armpit, like and I
Oh yeah, I
yeah,
would say
but
that is an armpit.
yeah,
You
but
are
like Little
correct.
Rock was a very nice little gem. So there you go. That's what to see with Sarah G. And we are gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna get into the topic of the red flags in bed.
Well, dating kind of sucks isn't just about dating. It's also about sex and relationships. And I think it's time we talk about sex and red flags in the bedroom. We touch on a lot of the same. I feel like over the course of almost 5 years of this podcast, we touch on a lot of red flags in the bedroom, but we've never done an entire episode outlining all of them. We've just kind of been here or there of, oh, that's shitty behavior. Oh, that's shitty behavior. Not going, oh, here are all the shitty behaviors everybody should be watching out for.
I mean, that's true. We've definitely talked about it, like in small instances, like don't if you see this, that's a problem. If you see this, that's a problem. But we never like specifically focused on when you're in the bedroom, when you're with a partner, in an intimate way. Here's some things that should throw up warning signs and tell you that maybe you should not be with that person.
Yeah, not worth your time. Don't have sex with them. Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think that this is it is good, and I had somebody ask about the podcast, and it was someone just who was like, well, I'm not dating, so I don't know why I don't listen to your podcast. And it was something I was like, well, like dating is just one element of what we talk about. Like it's so much like relationship dynamics, intimacy, consent, like all these other things that I think are important for anyone, even if you're not in a even if you are in a relationship. So I think this is definitely one of those that can be pretty valuable for people.
Yeah. Should we start out with the most glaring ones? Because I think we hit the main ones all the time, but let's just bring them to life and expand on
Oh,
them a little bit more.
sure,
Um,
because they are still important regardless
because
of even if they're obvious, they're still important.
they're not going away. They will still be there as big glaring red flags, which I think one of the biggest red flags in the bedroom is if they don't give a fuck if you orgasm. They don't care.
Yep.
They don't want your feedback or opinion. They came, sex was good, the end.
What I heard, I had a friend of mine who just on Twitter who just posted a joke that was just about that, and here's what it said. It was fantastic, and I had to share it. She said, "My ex used to always want to sleep right after sex, and I didn't. He'd be like, 'You don't understand. Orgasms make me sleepy,' and it's like, okay, but orgasms also make me sleepy." That's great,
Damn.
right?
Damn,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fantastic. Yeah, that's Ginny Hogan, by the way. I want to give her credit for that joke, Ginny Hogan. But yeah, so it is one of those situations where if somebody doesn't care about you and they're like, oh well, I just want to go to sleep now, and they don't even try to put any effort into it, that is a huge red flag. And it doesn't mean that you have to both have to come every time. It doesn't mean that there always has to, always has
It's
to be
not going to
orgasms.
happen every
Right,
time.
right,
Yeah. Unfortunately.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, and even it happens to men too sometimes. Like I've been with someone where like we focused on I was with her. We focused on her. She had an orgasm before we actually had any type of penetrative sex, and then I wasn't really feeling it. And I was like, you know what? That's okay. Like it's okay that you had fun. I also had fun. Like that's the other thing is it can be fun to make somebody else happy. And you don't always have to get off in order to make that fun. But if your partner is never even trying with you, that is such a huge issue. That means they really don't care about you.
No,
You're just
they got theirs
yeah.
and you're done. You must have gotten yours too because his was so good or whatever. I don't know. Just like it's the not giving a fuck about the orgasm. And then when you address, hey, how about next time we try this instead, or this might be more pleasurable for me, and they reject that feedback as just irrelevant because it doesn't benefit them in any way of their, or it would benefit them for the overall experience, but it doesn't benefit them getting an orgasm. It's a huge problem. And that just, it'll stem into other parts of a relationship if you even get that far, because if they don't care about you in the bedroom and you orgasming, what else are they not going to care about you when it comes to things?
Oh yeah, they're just completely disregarding you in the bedroom. They're going to disregard you in a lot of ways. My best friend Lisa, I don't think she'll mind me giving her name with this. Actually broke up with a guy because he was going down on her, and she said something like, "Hey, try this," and was giving him like some guidance, and he's like, "No, I know what I'm doing," and it basically like literally was telling her that he knew better than she did what felt good for her own body. And she was like, excuse me, you know better? And he goes, well, I'm good at this. And she goes, obviously not. Like it was basically, yeah,
Like no two dicks are the same, no two vaginas are the same. Like we don't all come with the same magical button of these four things or whatever. Everybody
I
is
mean,
so
there is a magical
different.
button, but
I mean, yes,
but
but
most men can't find it anyways. Uh,
there you go.
but
Yeah.
yeah, you know how you're how to be good at giving head, listening and taking direction. Like that's how you get good at giving head is actually listening to each partner and doing what they respond to and what they like. That's how it works.
And the actual nonverbal cues. You can
Yes.
tell if you're going down on someone, if they're gearing up towards being super pleasurable for them, or if it's just okay and you need to switch it up. If you just continue on the same path and they're not giving you any verbal feedback or like giving you any of the nonverbal cues, you're not doing a good job. I don't care how
Right.
many minutes you've put into work on whatever.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's just listening to your partner is part of being a good partner, and refusing to listen and thinking you know better is a huge red flag.
Yeah. And if that continues, you're not going to get as much sex either. So why would someone want to keep coming back for more if they don't feel listened to, appreciated, and like they're not getting taken care of either?
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're just going to be done with you. So you don't want to be that partner who doesn't listen and respect.
No, absolutely. And I don't know why I'm going to Twitter again with this,
Oh,
but
there's
this is
another
this,
tweet.
there's another one. There's an account I follow called Ask Aubrey, and she posts stuff that like shitty guys have said all the time, and this is just like this is so awful that it's like this is what men think basically, and of course now I can't find it. Where is it? There was one where basically this guy was saying that a woman is essentially just a hole And like she doesn't need a man around to like I mean I'm sorry, she doesn't even around. She doesn't need to really even be conscious to like have sex. Like sex is just, nothing for her. So why not just allow men to just do whatever they want? And like guys like that, like literally
Shouldn't
they
date
they
women.
exist.
Should
They
not
should
date
not.
women at all.
And
Which
no,
goes, yeah, it
the,
goes into the next red flag, honestly, that I have. But
yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about that. The next
yeah,
one, which is
okay.
because there's two. I would say there's obviously huge ones, and this is not
This is the
listening and no orgasms is a huge one, and then this is another one of the other huge ones.
the next one. They don't respect your boundaries and ignore consent, which
Exactly.
you don't want to be with someone who doesn't respect a boundary, doesn't listen when you say no. Like that's just not a good foundational quality to have in a partner, period.
No,
And
right.
you want to get out of those situations because it's a safety thing.
And then we have done an entire episode all about coercion and consent, and that also boils into this too. That if they take your no and they start to try to guilt trip you, they try to, like plead with you or whatever it might be, like whatever the tactics they
It's
use
been
when you
so
say no.
long.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, but I have blue balls. Yeah, whatever. Cry me a fucking river. Whatever they're gonna say, that is all aspects of coercion, and that is a violation of your consent. That is a violation of your boundaries. And so, um, and that is a giant red flag. If you like, hey, let's stop, or I don't want to, or no, and they keep pushing, they don't respect you.
Mm-hmm. No matter what they tell you, their actions say otherwise.
Yes, and in this case, the actions are very, very important. And then this, like I said, this boils down to coercion. Coercion is a violation of consent. If they beg you until you finally give in, that is not healthy either. That's not a respect for your boundaries. The other aspect of this that's a little more subtle, but I think should also be considered a red flag, is if they don't check in with you. If they don't, consent should be a continuous thing. It should be, do you like this? I mean, it should be a conversation anyways, because if you're one of those weird people who's just like quiet in bed and don't say anything and don't make any noises, nobody likes having sex with you. I'm sorry, I'm just letting you know that. Like if you just stay quiet the whole time, you're not fun
You're
for anybody. And that's why nobody ever wants to talk to you. That's just, I'm telling you, any listeners right now, start being vocal in bed and things will improve for you.
Well,
But
you also need to check in because hopefully you're
right.
changing positions, you're changing the flow of things a little bit where, oh, we switched to this. How does she feel? Oh, you know what I mean? Or, oh, I'm going deeper. Oh, is that hurting her? Is that whatever?
Well, and it's even like if you're, oh, do you like this or do you like that? And if they're giving you verbal cues that they are enjoying themselves, you don't have to constantly be
right.
like, that's because obviously they're giving you reasons or any type of, but if you are changing things, or if you're doing something that might be a little kinky and you're doing things that might involve like choking or spanking, is this good? Did you like that? You can ask things. Hey, I mean, that's kind of a sexy thing. You like
And
that?
having safe words
Oh, you
and
like
yeah.
that? Like you can say that. And if they say, no, please stop, then you know to stop. But if you're not even asking those things, if you're not even considering, because you're so focused on your own enjoyment too, that can be a problem as well.
Yeah. You basically just black out and just do whatever you want. That's not okay.
Right. Right. And so it's important for everyone to just remember that you should continuously try to check in, and it should be enthusiastic. If someone's just like, yeah, I guess, then maybe you shouldn't be
Maybe
doing it.
you shouldn't have sex with them. They don't really sound like they want to have sex with you. It's
Yeah.
not a fuck yes. So
Right.
don't fuck them.
Yeah. If it's not a fuck yes, then don't fuck them.
Don't fuck them.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, those are unless you have another big one. I think those are my main two red flags, and then there's obviously other ones that aren't as major but still important.
Yes, yeah. I think those are the absolute, like the two biggest ones, and I think that a lot of little ones that we're going to talk about too will go back to kind of being some variation of those two as well, about
Yep.
not really caring about your enjoyment and not caring about your boundaries. Like that's kind of like those are, those will encompass a lot of it, but we can get more specific about things too.
Yeah. I mean, one for me is when you're opening up with your partner and you're talking about what you like and don't like, and then you explore like the fantasy side of what you'd really like. If you open up and tell them that in a vulnerable manner and they make fun of you, laugh at you, or say, ew, that's disgusting, and shame you for that kink or fantasy, that to me is a red flag of, wow, they're not even open to listen and kind of respect where you're coming from. You don't have to do those like fantasies by any means, but just from like a vulnerability standpoint, why would you
Right.
laugh at someone who likes those certain things?
Yeah, kink shaming is definitely a red flag. It doesn't mean if someone tells you a kink and it's not something that you're into, you don't have to do it. You're not being nobody's going to force you to do their kink, but you can also just say, "Okay, well, I appreciate you sharing that with me. Thank you for thank you for being open with me." And then you can share something you might have, and see what they say. But you don't want to, um, in any way, shame them for it. And you can be like, "Well, I'll have to think about that. Maybe we can try that sometime."
I think a lot of it is education too, especially dating Roy. I've been a lot kinkier in my sex life with things that I did not even know existed, to be completely honest. And he'd say something or show me a photo or do something, and well, not do something, but like show like what he would like or whatever. And I'm like, at first, I'm like, oh shit, like, what am I looking at? And then I'm like, okay, take it back. Like, don't.
Like, come on, you can't just say that and then not have an example, Sarah.
I don't know if he's gonna like that I'm saying this. So when we were traveling, I was scrolling through his phone to try to find this photo that he took, and I scrolled a little too far and found a photo of a woman who was like aggressively tied up, and it was like a cartoon drawing or whatever, but
Mhm.
it was like a depiction of like in a public space, and it was just like a really graphic photo that, one, I wasn't expecting to see as I was scrolling on my phone, and two, I had never known that that was something that he really enjoyed. So the second I saw it, I was like, what the? I was like, what is this? And then he kind of explained. I was like, oh, you like that? He's like, yeah, but it's just like a fantasy thing that
Right.
I don't expect you to ever get to the level of anything in this photo, but it is something that kind of turns me on. And it was a conversation and like an education of just, oh, okay, this is what this is in the photo and whatever. But I wouldn't have, if I never would have stumbled upon it. Well, eventually we'd probably had the conversation, but it was just a moment of learning for me
Sure.
of going, okay, and now I just,
That was much less salacious than I thought I was going to be, by the
you
way.
didn't see the photo, but you didn't see the photo.
I didn't-
It was, I can't even explain it because it's just so fucking graphic that I was so shocked for looking for a photo of myself in his camera roll that I was not
Right.
expecting that. But I didn't shame him for it because I'm like, okay, you find that sexy. My thought process is, how can we incorporate elements that I feel comfortable doing from that into our sex play?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was good that, you guys were able to have that conversation because you're both adults about these things. Whereas, people who kink shame. Now, the opposite end of that too is that if somebody forces their kink on you without asking you about it, like
Mm-hmm.
that's also a huge red flag. Like someone who just starts choking you without asking if that's what you're into or anything. I had a friend who told me one time that she was with a guy and they were in the shower having sex and he just started peeing on her.
No.
Yeah. And she was like, "What are you doing?" And she was like disgusted by it because it wasn't something she expected and it wasn't something she was into. And he was laughing because he was getting off on it, like he enjoyed it. And he's like, "Oh, this is just a thing I like." And she's like, "This is not okay. Like that's not okay to just do that." He's like, "We're in the shower. What does it matter?" Like, so he's immediately dismissive of
Oh
how
my
he violated
God.
her consent and took a kink of his, and it just immediately, yeah, just it thrust it upon her without ever talking to her about it anyway.
Red fucking, it goes back to the violation of consent. What
Yep,
the fuck?
exactly. Yeah.
Ah.
It's terrible.
It's one
So
thing if they would have been in the shower and like talking about it and then said, hey, I kind of want to live out this, let's try it, and if she was okay and open to it,
yeah,
sure.
like he's like, hey, can I try peeing on you, while we're in the shower, like not on your face or something, but just like, just to see. And she's like, yeah, all right, let's try it. But if you just all of a sudden started just hosing her down, like that's just not
Yeah,
okay.
I
Yeah,
would think, what are you doing?
that is fucked
Wow.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would say beyond, so that's, the kink shaming and kink forcing. Those are two things. And then body shaming and like any type of you know any type of insecurity, like using your insecurities against you or trying to or saying things about insecurities is a huge red flag.
Like saying, "Ooh, your vagina looks a little weird compared to just like calling out."
God, I can't imagine. Like,
Men are
like
fucking awful of saying,
Jesus.
"Oh, like your extra beef lip or some shit." I mean, men are fucking,
Yeah.
men are trash, but calling something out as terrible as that, or mentioning, oh, it's been a while since you've shaved your legs. I'm not really attracted to you unless you shave your legs, or making fun of any smell that happens during sex, or a queef that happens during sex, or
Right.
any if you're sweaty during sex because it's a physical activity
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
say,
yeah,
"Ew, you're
yeah.
disgusting. I'm not attracted to you because you're sweating during a physical activity." It just like makes you feel insecure of like, damn, do you not find me sexy? This is just my body. I can't control
Right.
if I can't control the queef that happened or whatever. And it's my body if I decide to shave or not shave. So don't shame me because of that. And it just, why would you want to be with someone who's
Mhm.
putting you down in a really vulnerable state, to be honest?
Yeah. No, yeah, yeah, that's not a healthy person. That's not someone you'd want to be with in any way. Like they're not a good person to be with, as far as I'm concerned. Um, and like because there's one thing to to have thoughts. You can have thoughts like, well, like, oh, well, like if you're having sex with someone that you don't like, then
Like, oh, I don't
like,
really love that
I'm not
they,
really into this right now. Or this is person, if that's like it's a one night stand or a hookup or something, and you're just like, oh, this is a bad idea. But using that time to shame the person or whatever is not okay. Just don't do it again. It's basically, just decide not to hook up with them again. That's the way to deal with that. It's not calling them out for whatever bothers you at that moment.
yeah. Yeah.
Unless I will say, unless it's something like if there's a guy and you're about to go down on him and he smells like yesterday's can of tuna fish because he hasn't shaved, washed his balls in 3 weeks,
Right.
then it's okay to be like, you know what, we're not doing this till you go take a shower. That's okay. If it's a hygienic thing and it's a hygienic neglect thing, not something that's just like, but especially with it when it comes to men just being unwashed morons. It's okay to be like, yeah, this is done until you take a shower and learn how to wash your ass. Like, it's just not going to happen.
I was literally going to say if they can't change it in a couple of minutes, it's not worth calling out. So something like hygiene, pretty much. Why would you call it something that they can't change about their bodies? But if it's something like that, hey, yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because we know that's been a thing. I'm sure you've had some stories about that. But
I'm probably the one who smells worse than anybody.
why is that?
Because I'm just a very sweaty person. Like
Oh,
I've been
sweat.
told, "Ooh, like you're too sweaty," and I'm like,
I don't know.
okay,
I don't think
I'm
sweaty isn't bad though. Sweaty, like I don't think I ever think sweaty's bad. So it's never
until
really
someone's
makes.
like, "Damn, you made my sheets all wet," and it's not just from your pussy; it's from your sweaty body. I'm like, just wash the fucking sheets, moron.
Yeah, that's a red flag right there too.
Literally,
Anybody's gonna say shit like that. Yeah,
like, do you expect your sheets not to get dirty after we just
yeah.
fucked? I don't
Don't you?
understand.
Do you not want sex to be a fun physical activity that you're gonna sweat and like that's gonna happen? Like that. Yeah, that's.
I don't get it.
Well,
Yeah.
so that boils down to another red flag too is if especially when it comes to a man having absolute zero knowledge about the female body and not wanting to learn anything about it, like just you take men who just don't understand things as basic as obviously where the clitoris is. They think the clitoris and the G spot is the same thing. I've seen multiple things about that. They think that they think that periods can be held in, like you can just hold it, like if you have to pee, like they think
We
that
can
too.
pick when it happens.
Yeah, you can pick
Yeah.
when it happens and just schedule it for, they just
Next
don't,
Tuesday.
and they think that women are, hairless and completely hairless and understand that there's going to be hairs sometimes. There's going to be, like on nipples and things like that. Like that just happens. That's part of being a human. And yeah,
Literally, like the weirdest, I think the weirdest comment I've ever received about my body was from an ex-boyfriend because, he was like sucking on my nipple and he was like, it looks like you have pimples on your nipples because I had
oh
like the
my
little
God.
and like in our early 20s, I don't know. I was just like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's not a normal nipple. And I'm like, how many nipples have you seen in your life? My God, we're like 20 years old. What the fuck? You haven't fucked that many. We were virgin. Like it was so dumb. But he said that and it's always stuck with me. And I'm just like, this is a normal fucking nipple. All nipples
Right.
come in just like vaginas, all
Yes.
body parts come in different shapes and sizes. And that was just such a like you don't understand. I'm not saying, oh, your dick's not a normal dick because it's bigger or small. You know what like I wouldn't say that about a man's
Right, because you actually
member. So
have
why would I
empathy and you're thoughtful and you're, considerate. Whereas men just say the stupidest fucking shit like that. Like that have been, oh well, this is the last nipple of mine you're gonna see. Like that should have been right
right?
there. I mean, as soon as he started saying that, like because people have this idea, not people, men have this idea of women as far as porn and Playboy, it's airbrush and all this stuff. So they just don't like somehow get in their head. They don't understand they're human beings. Like we all have flaws and wrinkles and cellulite, like all these things. And if you're gonna, I don't know, it's the same idiot neckbeards who like comment on like a picture of so, oh well, she's too fat, and you look at the picture and you're like, what? She's a
Where?
normal human being. Like, what the fuck are
Yeah.
you talking about? And let me just guess what you look like there, troll. So
Mm-hmm.
but yes, insecurity is a big one. And not knowing about or making using someone's insecurity against them, not knowing someone's body, and not even trying to learn about it, not being willing to learn about bodies, or even ask questions and try to find out. Like that's just
Yeah. And going back to bodies and women's bodies in general, periods, and like we could say we can't just
yes.
hold them in.
Period.
Pe- Did I say period like
No,
that?
no, I was just like yes, periods, period.
Period.
Like that is a red flag right there.
Yes.
Not having a period, but how men deal with it.
Well, yeah, because it's like, oh, I'm mad at you because I can't have sex with you because you're crampy and you don't feel good enough on your period to have sex with me. Boo. I'm going to be a pouty little boy about it. Or, oh, that's gross. You have a
Mhm.
period. I don't want to have sex with you or touch you until you're done with your period. Like, it's fucking 2022 and you don't respect me because I'm a menstruating human. What the fuck? Like I said, can't control it.
Right. And maybe not everybody's thing is to have sex with someone on their period. That's whatever. That's if you can't handle it, it's not a big deal. So I feel like men think that it's going to be like, and I know you probably haven't seen
river.
this movie, like
A river.
The Shining, when the elevators open up and there's just the blood pours down the hallway. Like they think that's what it's going to be like having sex with someone on their period. It's not. It's just it's a pretty easy cleanup. It's not a big deal, and it's usually pretty fucking good sex in my opinion too. But so men are going to get weirded out about it, which these are the same men who don't wash their asses, so like they don't understand the human body in any capacity. And it's also any man who says, oh well, your mouth isn't on its period, is it? When like you're like, I don't want to have sex because I'm on my period. Like any man who says that, that's a red flag. Any man's like, oh well, you're not in the mood, but I can still get a
Your mouth
blowjob.
might be in the mood.
Is your mouth in the mood? Yeah, like
Roy jokes it like as a joke, like we laugh about. He's not serious, but he'll say something like, "Oh, your mouth looks really good right now." I'm like, "Shut the fuck up."
right. And it's okay, yeah, as a joke, but yeah, if you like you actually asked to have sex, or he asked to have sex, and you're like, oh, I'm not really feeling it, I'm kind of crampy, and then he's like, okay, well, you just want to suck my dick instead. Like, I feel like that's a shitty thing to say.
That's so fucked.
If you're serious about it, like if you're serious about it, that is not okay.
Yeah. And going back to period sex too, most of the time when I think it's going to be a lot of blood, we always look at the towel and I'm like, that wasn't that much. It really wasn't that bad.
Right.
So
I accidentally had period sex. I didn't even realize when I was having the affair, and I actually was going down on her, and she started her period without even realizing it. And it wasn't until I came up and realized that I had some blood around like my beard. And then I was like, okay, well, then we had sex, and it was fantastic, and it was, it was incredible. And I was like, I washed off, and wow, I survived, and it was no big deal, and it was a fun experience and made me
it's
want to
not
do it
a
again.
waterfall.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh man. What other ones do you have that are red flags on your list?
I would say anything related to refusal to understand or how important birth control is, or to put the
Mm.
entire onus on your shoulders and just be like, well, you're on birth control, or you could just take plan B, or I can't use a condom. They don't fit well. You know what? That's absolute bullshit. There's been so many, I love the TikTok videos of people like taking like a normal condom, like a small, so like an average size condom, and like putting it on their arm all the way down to their elbow and be like, oh, it's too small, is it? Yeah, fuck you. You're just a piece of shit for saying that, or it doesn't feel the same. The difference is so marginal that you can't. You just there's nothing. It drives me crazy.
It's
And then
the having to stop to put it on is what people don't like. It ruins the moment. But
yeah,
if there's no other alternative, if
mhm.
she's not, she doesn't have an IUD or birth control or doesn't want to take a plan B, that's your option. That is your form of
And you know what
contraception.
ruins the moment is having a fucking baby. And that'll ruin all of the future moments. Also, what ruins the moment is if you were to get an STI because you weren't using protection. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we do have any listeners who are this fucking stupid, and I hope we don't at this point in our tenure as podcast hosts over 5 years, but if you're still listening and you're this fucking stupid, you can get STIs if someone's on birth control. Just so you know, birth
Yep.
control is not like IUDs and birth control do not protect you from getting an STI. So keep that in mind. Because I know some people are idiots and think that. And also with condoms, I wanted to mention if somebody stealths, so if somebody pulls off the condom, it's in the middle of sex and thinks it's funny, or just does it because
They won't notice. They think they won't
yeah,
notice if they take it off or
that
whatever.
is actually a violation of your consent. That is rape. That is, and there are some states that actually will now have that legislated as rape, but that is rape because you did not consent to having sex without a condom. And
Mhm.
so that is of course a giant red flag. Any type of sexual assault or rape is a red flag. Yeah, I don't think we should need to say that, but we'll just make it explicit.
And on the topic of STIs too, if they refuse to get tested or like don't know, I think it's important to know at least where you stand, especially if you're having multiple sexual partners, to go, I'm good. Are you good? And if they're like, oh, I don't believe in that, or oh, I've always been good. If they give an answer to that effect, I would be really cautious and probably wouldn't engage in any activity with them.
Absolutely. 100%. I'd be like, yeah, it's just not worth it at all.
Nope.
Um, let's see. You have anything else?
I have I have a couple. If they shame you, if you're having the conversation of how many people have you slept with, which is a stupid fucking conversation to have in general, but if you happen to have that conversation and you say your number and then they shame you based off of the number that you said, red fucking flag. You don't want to, why would you want to sleep with them? You're a piece of meat to them. You should have, your number should be, I keep seeing the TikToks. What number should she be? And they're like 0. Like, what the fuck is wrong with men? But men can have 50, but she must have 0
Yeah.
because that's how I control the woman or whatever.
Well, that's all it is. It's control. It's also those men don't want any woman to know how bad they are in bed, and so they find somebody with no experience
Mm-hmm.
to have sex with.
Yeah. So there's that. And then my other thought is when men, I'm stereotyping men, but I'm sure that there could be other possibilities out there. But if they only pretend to care about you before they think they're going to get laid, so they're showing you the most interest and they're texting you back the most and pretending like treating you right before they think they're going to get laid, and then you guys have sex, and then he goes back to treating you like shit and ghosts you and whatever, and only hits you up when he thinks he's going to get laid, red flag.
I agree. That's in my opinion, that's a violation of informed consent because uh, you were consenting to have sex with somebody that you thought cared about you. And if they were lying and manipulating to you in order just to get you to just to get in bed with you and saying what you thought they wanted, then you were not consenting in an informed way. You weren't informed on how they actually felt, and that is a violation of consent. A huge red flag.
I never would have considered that a violation of consent. I would have assumed
Right.
they're shitty and it's just a hookup, so it doesn't really matter. And then when he hits me up again, then oh, he's acting nice again. Oh, he might like that. That's never in my mind ever been part of like a violation of consent because it's so fucking common
Right.
that shit happens that people don't
Because they have
label it
pickup
as
artists
that.
that are
It's
trying to,
just
well, here's how to trick a woman into getting to bed with you. Well, you know what? If you trick a woman into getting to bed, you just violated her consent. I really feel that's what it is. Because, like I said, informed consent. You're consenting to an explicit set of things, or explicit thing. I am consenting to have sex with this person until any point that I decide I don't want to. But this person, if this person is not representing themselves in a way that is genuine or legitimate, then you're not consenting to have sex with a piece of shit who's lying to you. He's lying to you. That's not, you would not have consented if they had actually
if you
came.
knew that they
Right.
felt the certain way or were
Yeah.
actually tricking you behind the scenes, then yeah, your actions would have been different.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
that's something to really keep in mind. There's a lot, like, I mean, I think our coercion episode, people really talked about that too, how they didn't really think about how much coercion violates your consent as well. And then I think that your example is another good way, not good way, but another solid example of violation of consent. Which is
Yeah.
funny how these all kind of go down, to the same things basically.
It's like consent and what was it? Consent and Giving a fuck if
No,
you
consent
orgasm.
and consent
an
and
orgasm.
basically and consideration. Consent and consideration, maybe.
Yeah. Consent and consideration. Instead of communication, open and honest communication, this is consent and consideration. This episode is the main focus.
Yes. And I think we've talked about most of them. I have a few like small quick ones that I want to talk about. If like you're going down on a guy and he grabs your head without asking,
Oh God, fuck you.
That's a red flag. That's like someone who's like watched porn is like, oh, this is how you do it. No, you know what? Someone who's actually good at giving head, you don't need to touch their head at all because you don't let them do their work. They're gonna do an excellent job.
The only thing I'll say about if you happen to touch my head that I don't find problematic is if I'm like keep getting my own hair in my mouth.
Yes.
Then you can help me by pulling my hair
it back
back
and holding it back, but not
to push.
If you use someone's head as a fuck toy, then I think that's a red flag. Without permission. If your partner decides she wants to use a toy to get off because she had sex and she didn't have an orgasm and she wants to get there, and you get jealous of it or you think it's somehow a replacement for you, you're a red flag.
You're a walking red flag. You're also no fun in bed. Honestly, you're no fun.
Right. I mean, I've had some of the most fun I've ever had has been when I've been with somebody and like I came, she was close but didn't quite get there. So then we brought out the toys and then she finally had an orgasm. And then, it was just like a fun experience to use toys and get there with her. And like I used the toys and she used them and I would, like talk dirty while she was, all these things. And like that's a fun experience. And if you're not having sex with someone because you want to have fun with them, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Question. Do you think among men there's a stigma of using sex toys for your own pleasure? Like men just aren't inclined to want to use sex toys for themselves?
I don't think so. I mean, I would say that the same men that would have a problem with a woman using a vibrator in bed probably have a fleshlight or probably have a sock that they jerk off into, like, or some equivalent.
Yeah.
In
so
that
what the
way.
fuck?
Well, yeah, because of course it's a double standard because it's the men like that have the issue, and there's whole Twitter threads that I've read about these men saying, well, if your woman uses toys and she's basically like I think basically a lesbian or something weird, which doesn't make any logical. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
These people are just walking red flags, and sometimes that you don't know until you get into bed with them that they're that fucking awful.
Okay. What else do you got?
The only other couple ones I had was like inviting a third party into bed without permission, like, hey, my friend's here, without ever talking it through, any type of recording or taking photos without permission, without making explicit that you're about to do that. And then, seeing if it's okay. Even if you're like, well, it was just for me, it doesn't matter. It's not okay to do that. I had an ex where I actually did that. I recorded us without telling her because we were both drunk and she was going down on me and I recorded her. And then I told her right afterwards, I was like, hey, I just recorded this. Do you want to watch, do you want to see it? You can delete it if you want. And she was into it. But like I immediately felt bad when I did it. I was like, oh, this is not okay.
Both parties.
Yeah, both parties need to consent. But we like I said, we were drunk and I was like, shouldn't have done it, but didn't really register in my drunk brain until after I was done. I was like, oh, that wasn't a good idea. That was years ago.
Well, I had someone who took a photo, I'm assuming took a photo of me while I was sucking his dick. But then I heard the click. I didn't see a flash. I heard the click, freaked the fuck out.
Oh,
yeah. Was like, well, let me see your phone. Like, and I had really long hair at the time. So I was like, well, my face probably is covered by my hair, I'm guessing. But then he pulled up his phone, said, I have nothing to hide. And then I guess I to this day still think it ended up in his deleted folder. I think he deleted it quickly. And then when I scrolled just his camera roll, I didn't see it.
Right. Or Snapchat.
Or it could have been Snapchat. Yeah. I mean, that was like the Snapchat. This was in college. Yeah. So shitty behavior. And I still went back after that going, oh, well, whatever. Like,
red flag.
Red fucking flag.
Yeah. I bet you got zero orgasms out of that relationship.
Worst guy ever.
And then well, let's see, anything else I had on here? Oh, I guess the only other one that I think is not really necessarily a red flag, but it's maybe a yellow flag is someone who's just lazy in bed. Like someone who's just like, especially I feel like this is a kind of guys with big dick type thing, like a guy who just
They don't have to work for
they
anything.
just lay back and then just like, all right, get on top, and they don't like try anything. Like if someone's on top, you can move with them, you can grab them by the hips, you can like, there's a lot of ways you can be involved in that. So if they're just like a lazy and just want to be a dick, like essentially a human dick, and just let you just like ride them and they don't want to do anything, I feel like that's kind of a yellow, maybe red flag.
Then why are you even having sex? I get if you're bored,
Right,
whatever, but if you don't have the energy to have sex, don't try to have sex. Just hang out on the couch with them instead. Why bother? If it's just going to be one-sided, you're not going to be fun. Stop.
Exactly. And I think that, I mean, that might go for women too, that if you're not in the mood to have sex with someone, then don't
fake it.
Don't fake it. I definitely don't fake
it. No. But like, don't fake that you want to and fake
to.
The experience.
And just say no and don't let them coerce you into having sex too.
Yeah.
So I think it's a pretty solid list of red flags.
And one yellow. Yes.
And one yellow.
I agree.
Yeah, if you have other red flags that you would like to share with us, you can do that. Share them in a Facebook group. You can join Facebook at facebook.com/groups/DKS podcast. We have a thriving group that has new members all the time. I've stopped counting on how many members we have, but there's always
we're over 2,000.
It's definitely over 2,000. Yeah. But yeah, we can definitely, you can always post what red flags you think in bed are important as well.
Yeah, and if you're having a sorry, I'm gonna say that again. If you're having a red flag experience or something that you think might be a red flag, give us a call in our DKS hotline. That number is 407-519-0181, and we'll play it on air, and you could be anonymous and we could figure it out together.
That's right. We need more of those. So we need some more voicemails. I think we have one more saved right now to reply to. So we need more. So yes, please call the DKS hotline. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you can at youtube.com/datingkinda sucks. You can also follow us on Instagram, where we don't really post much, but who knows what might happen.
Instagram's died. Okay.
Instagram, it's so 2019. So that's it. At datingkinda sucks, or you can follow our personal Instagrams. That's probably more exciting. Of course, you can email us with any questions at datingkinda_sucks@gmail.com.
You can also follow our TikToks too. We're both not really that active. Just like Instagram might be dead. TikTok's not, but Adam's is at Adam Heath and mine is at simply Sarah G _. And then to round it out, if you've been listening for almost 5 years of this podcast and have not given us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes, now is the time to do it. What are you waiting for? I don't understand.
That's right. Yes, please just do that. It literally takes just a minute and a half to do. We'd love that. You can also, if you're on Spotify, you can follow, and I think now you can actually rate podcasts on Spotify, so it gives a good rating on there. And then finally, if you do enjoy the content we put out, we'd love your support for $5 a month, so not very much. You can support the podcast at Patreon, where you will get bonus content, and that's patreon.com/DKS podcast.
Well, this episode wasn't a walking red flag, so we'll try for another fun thing next time.
Oh my God. Earlier today, Sarah texted me. I was like, what's my useless superpower?
Fuck you. No.
I am going to say that your useless superpower is definitely not segues. That is not one of your superpowers.
But that can't be a useless superpower if it's not my superpower.
Well, I'm saying, no, it's not. I'm saying that's not. Segues are not your superpower in any way, useless or useful.
Sometimes I have good ones, but yeah, it's not optional.
No, they're the cheesiest. It's always so cheesy. They're great. We will, when we come back, Sarah and Roy will be living in blank.
Asshole. We'll be living somewhere
new. Yeah, they'll be in a new home by the time you listen to the next episode. I will still be in the middle of BFE fucking Utah. So we'll be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode, and thank you for listening.
Until next time.
Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we get no luck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yuck, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.